Hey guys, Zomfox here, and today we're going to be reviewing Week 6 of the USFL season. So, this week is the first week of the second half, during the playoff push and stuff like that. So, we have a decent amount to review the games, naturally, and also the standings. So, in terms of the games, the first game, the Bandits and Stars, ended with the Stars winning 35-28. Then the Stallions trounced on the Panthers by winning by 26 points. Then the Breakers won a more close, tight game than I think most people thought, even though it wasn't really that close, 26-16 to the Maulers. And then a nail-biter with the Generals beating the Gamblers by 1 point. So, to put it too simply on which games really need to talk about, the first game in Bandit Stars, I have an entire video about. It's on top right, about the whole ending of that game. So there's not much to talk about, aside from the fact that the Stars, were able to actually run the ball, and that's pretty much it. You just need to see that they were able to run the ball. I shouldn't talk about it a ton, as Colburn had a really, really solid game on the ground for 140 yards. As for the Stallions and Breakers games, there's really not much for me to say. At the end of the day, both these games are what you pretty much expected. The two teams are able to easily win. Well, not easily win, but they were able to win games that they may not have played insanely well, but they did their job. The Stallions had Magoo in there for a bit, but essentially both these games are pretty simple. They're pretty much the same exact game. They're both the better team won against a worse team, and it wasn't like it was exciting. Now, here's the game that I actually have to talk about. The Generals and Gamblers game is basically a testament to the Gamblers season. So, as you can see here, the Gamblers have lost literally on 3 different plays that were basically last-second plays. Touchdown to New Orleans, then they lost a touchdown to the Maulers, and now a touchdown to the Generals. If those 3 plays alone are swapped, they are literally an insane 4-2 if those 3 plays are swapped. And that's not even getting past the fact they lost 2 other games in one score. If you just change those 3 games, I mean, they're the same team overall. I mean, you see those ways of the loss, and you look at today. I mean, Clayton Thorson was solid. He had almost 80% completion percentage with 170 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, but it just ended up not being enough. The team was just not able to get it done in the end. And it sucks for them. As for the Generals, this was a good win for them. DeAndre Johnson had a minor injury, so they kept him and sat him for pretty much the rest of the game. He did start the game 4 for 4 for 52 yards and a touchdown. But when they benched him, or when he got hurt, Perez came in, and he was solid. He went 18 for 24. He didn't have a ton of yards, 159, but with that offense, they're not gonna. And he had a touchdown. And then running the ball, the team naturally did what they do. They had 164 yards. I'm totally shocked they did that. Essentially, this was proof that they legit can use either quarterback and win. Even though they seem to be wanting to just use Johnson, I still think having both is a good option, because Perez, I think, is a slightly better passer than Johnson. But DeAndre just has that awesome ground game that he brings to the table. So they're both solid, and I think it's pretty cool that they were in this. They did what they did to get this win in the last second. But it's just, it hurts for the Gamblers. It really does. Especially when you look at the standings. Currently in the North, the Generals are leading at 5-1. They are 2 games ahead of the 3-3 Stars, and 4 games ahead of the Panthers and Maulers. Both Panthers and Maulers are really upset that the Stars ended up pulling away that victory, because now they are both 2 games behind the Stars with only 4 weeks left. But especially the Maulers. The Maulers are basically all but eliminated, considering the fact they haven't even won a single division game. At least the Panthers have beaten the Maulers in their first matchup. But to put it simply, the Panthers would have to pretty much win out, and pretty much either of those teams would have to win out, and the Stars would have to lose multiple games. So, unlikely to happen. And as for the South, the Stallions are leading at 6-0, the Breakers are second at 4-2, the Bandits at 3-3, and the Gamblers at 1-5. The Gamblers season is pretty much over with that loss. It just pretty much is. Yeah, I know there's a chance they could squeak in, but considering that they have not one but 2 teams with 500 or better records in front of them, and they have a team that's undefeated, they're not touching that 1 seed. Let's just be real. They're not touching the 1 seed because they can't, because the Stallions have secured only 4 losses at worst. So they have to get the 2nd seed to make the playoffs, but as I said, with only 4 games left, they can't, lose a game, and the Breakers can't really win a game or else they're out. Put it simply, right now, the playoffs look very, very, obvious. It looks like it's going to be the Generals and Stars in the North, and then the South is going to be a tight race between the Breakers and Bandits, but it's going to be one of those 2 teams with the Stallions. Overall, that's pretty much it for the Week 6 of the 2022 USFL season. it was a week where the games were like they were decent. Well, mainly two of them were really solid in the Bandits game and the Gamblers game, and then the other two were. But it is what it is. This has been Zomfox. If you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, have a great night.